Hello, welcome to Intuitive Insights. I am your host, Megan McDonough, your no BS woo-woo coach. Today, I'm very excited about this conversation. I have a very exciting guest. This is John Osborne. He is a senior faculty member, easy for me to say, at the Art of Living Foundation, and he's been there since 1989. He's a lead facilitator at the Institute of Absolute Intelligence, serving as a conscious explorer, meditation teacher. Oh, you're a kirtan artist. Oh, that makes me so happy. That makes me so happy. I miss myself some good kirtan. Okay. With over 45 years of experience in mind and body practices. He was personally trained by Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, and he leads global retreats teaching stress management and breath work. And he also co-founded the Welcome Home Troops, a program aiding veterans in PTSD across U.S. military and VA facilities. A Yale Divinity School graduate with a Master's of Divinity and former venture capitalist. I mean, you're blowing my mind, John. I blew my mind when I first read this, and even as I'm reading it now. Osborne has also been a Trappist monk. See, it's so exciting to me. Okay. Blending his analytical rigor with contemplative depth. His acclaimed albums include Present Moment, 2004, From Sound into Silence, 2024, and features devotional chants for healing and inner peace. He's based in Los Angeles, my old home, which I miss very much, and he fosters clarity and resilience through ancient wisdom and modern applications. He is one of the few trained practitioners worldwide who can perform an intuitive life scan, which we just did, and we're going to speak about in just a second, revealing specific insights into past patterns, current challenges, and future trajectories without any prior information. Not psychology or guesswork, pure intelligence from beyond the five senses. John, welcome. Welcome to Intuitive Insights.
Thank you for having me today.
I'm so excited to talk with you on multiple levels. But first, let's talk about this scan we just did.
Okay.
And I'm just going to put it out there for the listeners and watchers that John does this scan, and he intuitively it's very short, and just after a few bits of chanting and dropping into the present moment deeply, as he expressed with me, past life and life patterns popped up for him, which he had some for me. Now, I'm going to share a couple of things that he said. So one of them, and I'm going to, share how it's applicable and how it resonates. And then I would like to speak a little bit about the past life and soul's energy, because I have a particular perspective on that, and I wanted to ask some questions to you, John. So, one of the things that John had said was in a past life, I was a palm reader. Is that what you said?
That's right.
And, I have not shared this with him yet, but what he said about the palm reading was that I would see the lines on the hands, but then I would touch them. And by touching them, that's how I would have the accuracy or the knowing from touching the hands. Now, John does not know this. But as a kid, I've always, and if you've been listening for a while, you may have heard me say this, but as a kid, I've always felt, connection to the other side, even with religion and other older systems. I was always like, that's not it. It's this. You know what I mean? Like, I've always had this kind of connection to the energetic world. So, and I had, intuitive experiences as a child. But in my 20s, I called her Psychic Megan. And she came out after a few glasses of wine at a party. And she would read energy in palms, but I didn't quite read palms. I knew brief amount about the lines on palms. I know just a little bit of information about palm reading. But how I would see, quote unquote, right, is I would put my hand to their hand and touch them and then I would see what their soul, what I would describe as their soul wanted me to see, what their soul was begging for me to communicate because they weren't listening when the soul was trying to communicate with them.
Right.
So John saw that, and I had not told him that part yet. So that was my technique that I kind of developed. But it's interesting to hear that you saw it as this was a past behavior pattern or technique that I had.
And a way that you made a living in that life.
Yeah. And then there were a few things that resonated in my current life from this particular life that he saw as well. But I got a couple of things. I have so much that I want to talk to you about. One, we share the passion for the scientific process of yoga and how it helps facilitate not just the physical, but the energetic, and when we do that, that's when you get the siddhis. That's when you get what you're sharing beautifully now, right? I mean,
yeah, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras are,
yes.
The basis for all of yoga and meditation, certainly in the Vedantic system and really in Buddhism too. And he leads people through, it's called the 8 limbs of yoga, but it's very systematic. It is a science and talks about codes of behavior, the yamas, the niyamas. Then he talks about pranayamas and asanas and then meditation. And he said, when you kind of mastered all of that and a few key things come together at the same time, dharana, dhyan, attention in a certain part of the body, dhyan, meditation, and samadhi, when you drop into the transcendent, that these siddhis, these abilities are possible. But he's kind of vague about how it happens, because if the wrong people try to get into learning these abilities for the wrong reasons, it won't work out well. Right. So he's kind of vague, so that somebody of sufficient consciousness has to be able to pick that lock, to read into what Patanjali is saying, to open the door and to teach it. But in the ancient days, it was only taught to very advanced students. My story about that time is somebody came and said, I've been meditating for 20 years, whatever. I think I'm ready for knowledge of the siddhis. And the master, the guru, called his disciple and said, bring in a cow. And they brought the cow in. The guy's wondering what's going on with this cow. He said, take this cow home and make this cow into 3 cows, and then come back with the 3 cows, and maybe I'll teach you then. So it was meant to be very advanced knowledge, only for people who had learned enough about consciousness that their use of these abilities wouldn't be dangerous for themselves or other people. Does that make sense?
It does. And how I, when studying it myself, I interpret it as, if you have any attachment or
cravings or aversion,
any desires or attachments towards the siddhis, they disappear.
Right. They have to be done in
that balance of having them but not needing and wanting them.
And that's why he says dharana, attention on a particular part of the body. You can read to see what he says, plus dhyan, those two together, meditation, plus samadhi. You can't just be in meditation. You have to have dropped into that pure consciousness.
And there are levels of samadhi. Samadhi is not just one destination. There's several levels of samadhi as well.
Dharana, dhyan, samadhi equals the possibility of
moksha.
But it's a gift. It's not a mechanical ability. It's a gift.
Cerebral. It's experiential. Right? Yeah.
Right. It's a gift from the divine.
Yes. And that at its root, it's the integration of all we are capable of. Meaning,
that's right. There's really only one thing going on in the universe, and that's pure consciousness. And we're a manifestation of that. Everything around us is a manifestation of that. And once you drop into that self, you identify so strongly with the self, capital S, then anything is possible. You could say, I want the clouds to leave the sun, and the clouds have to leave the sun because they're also part of the self. Does that make sense?
Because it's all connected.
Right.
Yes. I was actually, first studied yoga and continue. It's like a life passion, so that does not stop. But especially when it comes to helping, teach people how to connect to and communicate with and have a relationship with their intuition. Pratyahara is what really came to mind, because which is the withdrawal of the senses, because the senses connect us to, in this, my interpretation, please, you're the scholar, so you tell me if, you have a different interpretation of this, but that the senses connect us and keep us attached to the physical world, which is the illusion of permanence, when the permanence is really the intuition that, well, I call the intuition, but the soul, the Purush, whatever you want to call it, right? God. But that's the constant. The inconsistent.
All the problems that a human being experiences is exactly what you're talking about. The scenery, the outer world.
Oh, that's right. You use that. Please talk about that, because I like that analogy.
The senses glom onto the outer world and think that's what they are.
Right.
And they come in over they overshadow the seer.
Mm-hmm.
That creates a kind of bondage and a kind of illusion. And we got all trapped up in that. But when you begin to meditate, you begin to experience the seer. And then you begin to experience yourself as the seer.
Yes.
And then the seer becomes available to you along with waking, sleeping, and dreaming. And that's the beginning of enlightenment.
Yes. And that when you...
so then the scenery loses its power over you at that moment.
That's right.
You can be a witness to the scenery, but you're not subject to the scenery.
Right. And so then, for me, and how I explain it, is that then I call them all the feels. So it's the feel see, the feel know, the feel,
Yeah, what the big aha, because I teach courses on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, is that this chair that I'm looking at is not only a part of the scenery, but my ego is part of the scenery. And my memory is part of the scenery. And those are also things that that keep us from experiencing who we are as an all-time reality, this unboundedness.
Yes. And they get in the way of the pure consciousness.
Right.
Which
pure consciousness is always there.
Yeah.
And, it's important to differentiate between different kinds of intuition. A lot of people who practice as psychics, in my experience, are not particularly well developed spiritually. They're not in that enlightenment phase, but have help from the other side. They get a spirit or something that's giving them answers to things. And then they have this kind of karma with the spirit. But what I was taught to do is not from any outside force or entity. It's from dropping into that intuition, which has always been there. That's right. There are qualities to the absolute. The people say the absolute is without qualities, but in the absolute, you'll find divine compassion. You'll find love, divine love. My guru told me you're made up of all love. Right.
Yeah.
But you'll also find very pure intuition if you can drop into it. And that's what he taught me to do, is a siddhi, how would I say it? A formula, a tool.
Yeah.
For
technique.
Dropping that place. Right.
Right.
And it just
I don't like the word psychic personally, because to me it has a little bit of, twofold. It has fear attached to it, like there's only one absolute answer, and that this is it. And now and it takes away. So that's one. And I don't believe that the intuitive space, the soul-based space, this space that we're speaking of, knows fear. It does not house fear as a vibration. It's the vibration of love, connection, hope, faith, trust.
Fear is part of the scenery.
It's part of the scenery.
Jesus himself who said, perfect love casts out fear.
That's right.
When you experience yourself connected to the divine, that you're part of the divine, and that divinity cares for you very much.
Yes.
There's much room for fear in that equation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then also, it steals your journey from you. I mean, your journey is meant to, in my perspective, our journey in this life, in this skin suit, is to experience certain things and learn and grow and hurt and love and, experience all the things. and then hopefully understand how to integrate the self, right? Personality and the whole self. But to me, psychic, what's the word I'm looking for? But like, telling somebody what's going to happen steals that away from them. It steals away. One, it says that there's only one possibility in this lifetime, which I don't believe. And two, it's taking on the responsibility of their life, which feels gross. So
most often when I see for somebody in the future, I say there's a possibility that
right.
at this time that may happen.
Right.
I rarely, say anything.
Because we all have divine will to choose, to listen, to be guided.
Life is a combination of free will and predetermination or karma or whatever you say.
Yeah.
The way Sri Ravi Shankar says it, he says it in a very humorous way. He says, your height is predetermined. You can wish you were 5'9", but if you're 5'5", you're never going to be 5'9". Your weight is free will.
Oh, that depresses me right now, but it's true.
Some things are changeable in life, and some things are.
Some things are predetermined. Yes. Okay. So one thing I wrote down here before. Nope. I'm going to go back to this. I want you, if you don't mind, can you speak a little bit about the dropping into the present so much so that, because what I wrote down and I shared with John before we started was, when he started to read me, we dropped into Ohms, which I told him I appreciate because they remind me of my guru and what she and her father shared with me. And it's rare that I witness that type of Om, kind of in a yoga class or wherever anymore. So I appreciated that. But two, when he dropped into that and in his silence, I saw different colors swirling around and I was seeing different auras. But then I popped in and saw kind of, we were going in and out of dimensions and timelines is what I felt. And then because I had no idea what kind of reading this was going to be, and then he came forward with like a past life impression. So, and you had a beautiful thing that you shared with me about time and dropping in. I wondered if you could just, reiterate that a little.
One of my favorite quotes about time comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, American philosopher. He said, "Time is but a stream in which I go fishing." So historical time, past, present, and future, I've had a number of experiences which shows me that that's not really true. There's only one thing happening, and it's eternal. And past, present, and future are, you could say, enveloped in that, but it's deeper. If you grew up in a Christian tradition, you sat there and looked at a cross, probably, as a child, but people don't realize the significance of the cross. The horizontal arm of the cross is in Greek chronos, which is historical time. 1952, 1980.
Saturn. Isn't it Saturn as well?
I don't know about Saturn, but it's chronos. It's historical time. The vertical pole of the cross is kairos, which is eternal time.
Which is what?
Eternal time, eternity. Time. And what happens, I guess, is that you drop into that that vertical to the point beyond present space and time, and you discover in that deep place already enveloped all of past, present, and future. Does that make sense?
It does. So, in a sense, I like analogies and I like to put it back to see if I'm understanding correctly, but when you're honing in, deepening into the present moment, you're deepening into where the crosses connect.
Cross meets, right.
The cross meets.
Right. You may remember, again, my training is in theology. The Pharisees, Jesus was talking about King David or Abraham very authoritatively as a child, and they're kind of deriding him. They're saying, how do you know about
Abraham? Talking about at the church when he had the big tantrum?
Were you from his time?
Yeah.
And he said something beautiful. He said, before Abraham was, he said, I am. He didn't say, I was before Abraham or I knew Abraham. He said, before Abraham was, I am. I am, is the ultimate expression of the present moment.
Yes. And it is the oneness. It's the representation of one.
It's the self. It's pure
right?
consciousness manifesting itself in space and time.
Yeah. Yeah. So my question on the past life and the soul, like I wanted to ask your interpretation or experience in your work with this. But so when I do like a full-fledged reading and I look at past lives and so forth, how I see them is a point on the life path, the soul's life journey, in which it enveloped a particular energy or time or issue, what have you. And it's the soul is asking you to call upon whatever those lessons were now into your life, integrate them, remember them, right? Or recognize them. Not like not as I always tell people, because people are, everyone wants to be like Cleopatra or something. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody wants to be somebody famous
Yeah,
or
and
something. And it's like, that doesn't
yeah.
matter. What matters is the, like you were saying, what matters is the vasanas or the samskaras. What matters is taking the impressions left behind and liberating them.
Right. And realizing that they're also part of the scenery. So
Ooh, yes. Oh, I like that. Yes.
not identifying yourself with them.
Yes. I love that. I do love this scenery versus seer. And I know I've heard it before, but somehow it's resonating more deeply now.
Comes from Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And
Yeah.
it was his understanding of that got me to be able to teach it in this course, which is called Siam, which is the Sanskrit for the siddhis. And when people realize that everything in their life, including their ego and their memory and their mind and their body, are all part of the scenery, then what else is there? And that drops them into that pure consciousness,
Yes.
the seer. And then they begin to identify with the seer more.
Did you find that? So, okay, so let me go on your timeline real quick. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to ask this. I'll wrap it up. So did you go, were you in theology first? Did you get was it a doctorate you got?
No, I was I got an undergraduate degree, and then I took 2 years of graduate, I became a teacher of meditation. I learned meditation when I was a freshman in college, graduated from college, became a teacher of meditation, and then I'd taken a year off from Yale, deferred admission. So I did 2 years of studies at Yale, teaching meditation on the weekends.
Yeah.
And then I got introduced to a very highly evolved being who happened to be an abbot in a monastery, ended up writing a book with him, ended up being in that monastery for 3 years, took time off the divinity school, went back and finished my degree, and then went out in the world and was teaching meditation, and also got interested in business. So all different kinds of things were happening.
And then what led you to the art of living?
Very interesting question. I mean, divine
guidance.
Yeah, I think. I was in a room, dinner party of meditators in Santa Barbara, California. I moved there in 1988 for work. I was in the investment business. And there was a pundit, a pujari, Indian man who needed a place to stay. I just into a cottage side of the ocean, knew enough about Indians that if I rolled a mat out on the floor of my living room, he'd be quite happy. He was a Jyotishi. He was an astrologer.
Yeah.
Soon my living room became his place for business. People were coming and going all day long, which was fine with me. Glad to offer him hospitality. And then he said a boyhood friend of his was coming to the university to speak, and could I take him to see him? And I did. And it turned out that boyhood friend was Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. There was no art of living. Now it's in 185 countries, and millions and millions of people have benefited. But the moment I walked into the room with, it was then called Pandit Ravi Shankar, now he's called Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. A little voice in my left ear said, "Take off your shoes. You're in the presence of a Brahman Gyani. You're in the presence of someone highest level of enlightenment." And he seemed very familiar to me.
Yeah.
And so I felt my whole life that I had planned kind of the Red Sea parted, I knew that it was a significant day in my life, and everything changed after that. Then I took one of the first courses in the United States, and I learned this sky meditation yoga that he's brought. And it brought me deeper in meditation than I'd ever gone before. And I had some memories of some really divine experiences as a child, which I thought I'd lost. They came back. And I remember sitting at the end of that first course, the end of this first session of the course or second session of the course, with tears pouring down my face, Megan, and thinking, if I could help one other person have the experience that I've just had, my whole life would be worthwhile. Yeah. So I went the next year to learn to become a teacher, and then, but there was no Art of Living Foundation. There was just this person traveling around and teaching, and then the foundation came the next year, and I was involved in that and involved in teaching, and I never looked back. But all the time, I still had a career in business of various kinds. So I only recently started doing this full time. I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years ago. But I was doing it, at night and on the weekend the whole time, the last 35 anyway. But
it was your passion.
Finally, business allowed me an option to retire, and from that, and I just started doing it full time.
And start your purpose.
Yeah. Continue my purpose.
Continue purpose. Couple of questions before we head out. I forgot to ask you my 2 questions out the gate, so I'm going to ask them now.
Okay.
How do you define intuition in your own words?
What a good question.
Is that the bells in the background?
Yeah, I have.
That's perfect timing.
I have intuition to me is dropping into a knowingness, which is itself a window on divine energy.
Oh, that is beautiful.
An aspect of divine energy, which is all knowing. And
I love that. I love that visual. I did have a question. I am going to ask it. I was going to push it away, but I'm going to ask it. Because I feel like it speaks to what I try and share, and it sounds like what you're sharing. The question is, when you deepened, and you may have already kind of touched on this a bit, but when you deepened into your stillness, into the seer, when did you know, or when did it occur that these gifts of universal energy communication were available to you?
Are you talking about the process of scanning, or are you talking about something in my life?
I just went on a very long road to say that.
The process of scanning involves an initiation and some instruction, and then you have no idea what it is that you've just learned. And I did it in a group of 5 or 6 people. And
so you took a course specifically. It wasn't like you were meditating and all of a sudden it was like things started happening.
No. You have to be taught to do this. And it wasn't a course. It was an initiation. I did with 4 or 5 other people. And he's like, we're doing this. Now you do this. Follow these instructions. Do this. Now turn to the person next to you. And I turn to the person next to you. I'm like, holy cow, what just happened? Because it happened right at that instant.
So you were chosen essentially as initiation.
Yeah.
For this. Okay. Well, the next question I have, and that's why I had to ask that.
I'm not alone. There's several hundred people around the world that do this now.
Oh, yeah. Now, right? But in your group, it was initially, yes. Okay. So my one question usually is, how do you define intuition in your own words? The second one being, how and when, or what prompted you, better put, what prompted you to start using the intuition in your life, or this skill in your life?
I had glimpses of it as a little kid.
Yeah.
And at first it kind of scared me because I would say what I saw and other people are like, what are you talking about? Crazy person. And so I wasn't sure if it was real, and I wasn't sure how it could be helpful.
Yeah.
Then when I started meditating, it started to come back to a certain degree, and then more. And then when I took the SIAM course, and learned about Dharana, Jhana, and it came more. And then when I learned to be a scanner, it
really kicked in.
erupted like, a volcano. So I don't know if I answered your question. It's been there all along, but not like it is now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You did. And I believe we all have access to that. Some of us are predispositioned, like some of us are better athletes than others, kind of a thing.
You know, what's interesting is we've started a series of studies and a series of courses for kids in intuition. And kids are much better at intuition than adults are.
They are.
They don't have the ego and the cravings and the aversions. And so there are kids all over the world who are amazing. And
Absolutely. But we're not trained. That's the thing. We're not trained for, we're more intuitively and spiritually connected as children. And I work with children with teaching yoga a lot, and they respond to sound, they respond to song, they respond to vibration, right? And they also respond to just energy. It's just energy they respond to. And we train them. Our systems have been training us as humans to focus on the scenery.
And be successful in the scenery.
And be successful.
Scenery is ultimately an illusion. But these kids, I had a friend, I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
Maybe to end up. I had a friend who came to one of these demonstrations.
Yeah.
He financially brilliant person, went to Harvard Business School, very left brain oriented. You know, he analyzes stocks and things. And the kids gave a demonstration and he didn't believe it. And so we went up to one of the girls, 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to see your blindfold, because they do it blindfolded. And he put the blindfold on, and he saw that the blindfold was real. And he said, put the blindfold on. And then at some distance from her, he held up a $100 bill. And if you can read the serial numbers, he was trying to disprove her. If you can read the serial numbers on this $100 bill, I'll give it to you. And she put the blindfold. She's 13 years old, and she's like SK176583. And he about fell over, not only because he was surprised that she could do it, but what it did to his whole understanding of the universe.
Yes.
He didn't thought anything like this was possible. So she got the $100. Actually, he donated it to a cause that was dear to this girl's heart. So kids are coming up. Imagine what it does for them in schools.
Yes.
You know, they're much better at their studies. They do better on their tests. They work out better with other kids. Yeah. So we're starting to institute these programs in schools, if you can imagine. So kids, I love that. At the same time as they're doing reading, writing, and arithmetic, can develop their intuition, which will serve them very well as an adult.
Is this through the art of living?
It is.
That's wonderful.
It's through that Institute of Infinite Intelligence, or that you talked about earlier.
Yeah,
I'm a part of. They run these courses for kids.
That's wonderful. I mean, yes, absolutely. Yes.
So everybody has this kind of intuition deep inside them. Not everyone has access to it, but
we're training.
When you learn to take the attention away from being completely absorbed in the scenery, you start to explore the seer. The intuition develops automatically, naturally.
Absolutely.
But there are ways that you can have it develop more
specifically. Yes. Like, for instance, you were saying, as you progressed down the path of the sutras, right, or the Ashtanga path, you were deepening in, and it was starting to come back, that kind of intuitive nature of yours. But having that specific training as to how to use it as a tool
was a quantum leap.
It was a quantum leap, yeah.
And it came from the grace of my teacher. It takes somebody in that state of consciousness to show you the possibilities of that state of consciousness.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful for the teaching and the training that I've received from Sri Sri Ravi Shankar.
John, I am so grateful for you.
Credit. I don't take any of the credit for it.
I was just getting a visual of a river, and just, it's flowing from the river flowing from one teacher to student, to who becomes the teacher, to the student who becomes the teacher.
And there's this tradition of masters that go back thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's an oral, even though there's a lot written about it, there's this oral tradition. That's why you can't really learn the siddhis from a book.
No, it's cool.
Meditation from a book has to come from the heart of someone that is in that field.
Yeah. Even the sutras, even the Patanjali sutras are supposed to, I believe they were supposed to have been taught from like a master, a guru, to unwind,
part of it.
unpack.
The last part of it, and that's why I think Patanjali was a little deliberately vague. He's like, if a person in a high state of consciousness reads this, they'll know how to unlock the door. Anybody else, they don't get through the door.
No.
It was a safeguard.
It becomes, like liberation is, eating ashwagandha and doing downward dog. It's not.
It's part of it.
It's part of it. It's not the whole bit. John, this is, I could talk to you all day. I literally could talk to you all day. I'm so intrigued by your path, and almost every geek out subject that I adore, you have experienced and mastered. How can people find you, or the I'm assuming the Art of Living has like the child's program that you were speaking to, and of course all the training.
Right. Young Person's Intuition Program, Institute of Intelligence. You have that name there. You can put that out to your people. I think that has its own website now. It's fairly new.
Okay.
I have an email address, my first name, John, @artofliving.org. And I even have someone who schedules my scanning, but I have to tell you that I have about 150 people on a waiting list.
Oh, my goodness.
I scan a few people every day, but rather than have people call me and say, I need to be scanned by you, I can give you the name of my scheduler. Would you like that?
Yes, let's do that. And then also, in addition to that, I would love to know how your work with PTSD with veterans can, if someone is looking for that, how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, projectwelcomehometroops.org.
Okay, great.
And the telephone number of my scheduler, so somebody could text him. His name is Sai, S-A-I, Vemuri, V-E-M-U-R-I, and his telephone number is 860 754-7443.
Sai, you're going to be blowing up.
He took this on. It's like, I really want to do this. I'm like, do you know what you're asking for? Because people call him all the time.
Yeah.
But I can only do a few of these a day, and I'm teaching and I'm traveling and, I'm doing a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So when I'm settled and I'm not traveling, then I do 4 of these a day, and eventually I'll catch up, hopefully. But whenever I teach a course, like I'm going to Australia right now this week, and I'll be teaching hundreds of people, they all want to get on that list. So I'm not sure I'll ever get to some of it, but I'll do the best I can.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and experience with
Megan. It was a pleasure. I hope that we meet each other in person sometime, and I hope I can get on your show again. Thank you so much.
I would love that. All right.
Very nice.
Namaste. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.